Hello, everyone. This is Rising Stories Podcast, and I'm your host, Krista Anderson. On Rising Stories, we meet women who are changing their world. They are changing their world with their businesses, their influences, and sometimes with their words. On this show, we talk about what their journey and struggles look like along the way. We also chat about tips that help us live our lives with intention and purpose. And sometimes I ask them what their favorite books are and their favorite apps. And we always talk about best business advice. Also, a quick note, if you hear about something on the show that you want to jot down, no worries, because all of the information will be on the show notes at KristaAnderson.com. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss an episode. And you can also listen to all of the past episodes from other amazing women. Here's our story for today. What would you do if you were given just 3 months to live? Her cancer was progressing quickly. The mass was wrapped around her arteries, near her heart, and pressed on her right lung. Inoperable were the doctor's words to her. Chemo treatments left her in utter despair. But Krista Anderson believed that she would beat this thing. Not only did she beat it, but she has since started her own company called Esstar, a natural food brokerage company. Krista tells us about her journey from hospital bed to now working with convenience stores nationwide to provide customers with healthy snack options. Krista had a chance to meet Michelle Obama as part of the Healthier America partnerships. I met Krista in her home and we talked about her fight to wholeness. Here is my conversation with founder and CEO and author Krista Anderson. Hi, Krista.
Hi.
So good to meet you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on your podcast today. So excited to be here.
Thanks for saying yes. Ever since I heard about you through a friend, I have been kind of stalking you and trying to find out, like, who is this person and what does she do? And you're like this, just like this CEO, founder of a little business. It's not little because it's like, I just saw that the other day, and my girlfriend and I were just coming back from a hike, and we stopped at a little store, and there was your picture and all these snacks, and I was like, what is this? Like, tell me your story. Tell me about how you got to into that convenience store with all your snacks.
Yeah, well, about 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 2 kidney cancer, and had my right kidney removed and kind of went on with life. And about 2 years after that, in 2009, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. It had metastasized into my chest cavity, grew very quickly, collapsed my whole right lung.
Oh, wow.
And so had most of my right lung taken out, and went through about a year of chemotherapy. And right around that same time, the doctors gave me about 3 months to live, and they weren't sure that there was anything that they could do for me. And I quickly learned a lot about healthy eating. And during that time, I went to see a holistic doctor and learned, kind of how God really intended us to live and eat since the beginning, and really taking my lifestyle kind of back to that place and looking at, what am I putting into my body? How's my stress? How am I I need to work out. And, it was like a pause button was hit in my life to reevaluate, what I needed to do to live a healthy lifestyle. And so I did everything I could do and kind of left the rest up to God. And so I kind of started this journey on healthy eating, and I learned so much during that time. And one of the things that I realized was that healthy food was not that accessible.
True.
Yeah.
It's not like you can drive through and pick up healthy food.
No. Although that's my next business idea.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good. We need that.
Yeah, but that was it. I took a trip to Wisconsin to visit my family where I'm from, and I walked into a convenience store, and it was kind of the same old, same old. And I hear this from women all the time is, I did a full circle through the store. There was nothing I could really eat unless I wanted almonds or a bottle of water. And I left empty-handed, and I was like, okay, this drives me crazy. Why isn't somebody doing something about this? And of course, I get back to Nashville, and I'm like, I'm going to do something about this. And, I did not know a lot about the food industry. I did work for Nestle for years, and kind of the opposite of health. And I didn't have a lot of experience in business ownership. But I will tell you, it's amazing what you can learn from Google and
I bet.
other people in the industry. So,
and at what point did you, because ultimately, because you're sitting here just like the picture of health, how did you get from being diagnosed, saying you've got 3 months to live, you just started eating healthy and being a little bit more in control of what you put in your body, and so that brought you to healing? What do you attribute your healing to?
Yeah, honestly, there's no recipe that works for everybody. And I think for me, it got a little overwhelming thinking I had to be the one to do all these things to be healed. And ultimately, in my personal experience and opinion, it was up to God and His plan for my life. But I believed everything that the Word of God says about healing in all the scriptures. There's, I think, 40 scriptures on healing. And I read those over my body and just put them into my mind and my heart every single day, multiple times a day. I had those scriptures in front of me, and it was my life. Like, I was holding on for dear life to those and believing that if God said this, I'm just going to believe it and, receive that this is the truth for my life. And so ultimately there's no medical explanation about my healing. Wow. Yeah. They're just as shocked as I am. And what's interesting is after I was healed several years down the road, I was interviewing one of my doctors for my next book that's coming out. And he said something on the interview I'd never heard anybody say to me. And he said when they went in to remove that second tumor, there were 4 or 5 more growing in different parts of in that area, that it was growing rapidly and, spreading. And that, to me, it shocked me to my core. I went home for the rest of the day and just sat on the couch and praised God, because I was like, there's no explanation but this. But I believed He would heal me. I didn't ever doubt that He wouldn't.
Yeah.
So
I think that's powerful that you just trusted and you didn't doubt. You trusted that He had something better for your life. And I do love that you're saying that it doesn't look the same for everyone, because, not everyone gets the healing, like you did. But it's always back to good food. It's always good to put good food in your body. And so from there, you decided to just take over and say, there needs to be some good snacks available, right?
Yeah.
And what was your first, and did you do it, were you doing this while you were still having treatments and sick? Is that when you started your business?
No, it was probably a few years after. And I had, just from an entrepreneurial thought process here, is I had beat my head against the wall for years trying to come up with a business idea that I wanted to do, because I knew I was, I wasn't really a kind of a corporate kind of type person. And so finally one day it just clicked when all this, it just came together. It was not anything I did. It was just, it felt right. And I just followed this path. But, the biggest thing is that in our society is, we have to have access to these foods to fight disease, but we have to have access to these foods to prevent these types of diseases. And cancer it can be a bear. And once a lot of times you're diagnosed, it's hard to turn back and change, your lifestyle and fix what you've always done. And so my mission with this company is, of course, to provide these healthy options to people to prevent and fight disease. But hey, let's look at living a healthy lifestyle now, and this stuff actually tastes really good. You can do this, and here you have access to it, and let's fight this thing and live a healthy life and prevent it from ever happening.
Mm-hmm. So your company, describe to me what your company does.
Esstar is a natural food brokerage company, and we partner with brands, natural snack food brands that go through a pretty strong process of meeting our criteria of what's truly healthy. So I search out brands from all over the world. I bring a lot of brands from the UK here to the US because they've really got some really great products there. And we look at, is it low in sugar? Is it, lower in calories? Is this real food that's not manufactured or processed? Can you potentially make it in your kitchen? Are the ingredients clean? You understand what they are, you know what they are, and it's not man-made type things. And so my goal from my experiences is to provide people with the healthiest products possible. And so I seek out these brands and basically curate a section of about 45 items on our racks that go into convenience stores, college campuses, healthcare, cafeterias, you name it, anywhere that food can be sold.
Hospitals and things too.
That is one of my missions.
I always think the worst food is here. Like, why would they just?
Oh my gosh! Don't get me on my soapbox. Yeah,
it's just like junk food. But at the same time, I understand people want what they want, especially when they're having a hard time or they have a loved one. But you would think that they would have good, healthy foods, and they need them in schools too. I see that they're doing that in schools as well. So do you you do the little, it's not a kiosk, but what is it, like an end cap of all your products? And one of my favorites is on there. Is it called Boom Chicka Pop?
Yes, Angie's Boom Chicka Pop.
Yeah, I love that. I like the kale chips. All of that sounds really good. So that was your goal for your business, is to just bring more healthy foods and make them accessible to people.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the fact that you, when we first met, you were like, things happened and here I am, I'm in a transition period. Is it because of your medical bills that you're in a transition period with this, or just that you are, did you put all your eggs in your basket for your business? Because I feel like people need to know, entrepreneurs that are listening, business owners that are listening, they need to know, how does one finance some of this stuff? Like launching this, because it's kind of, is it national? You've gone...
Yeah, we are national. Yep. So that's a cool story. And early on when I had this crazy idea to put healthy food into gas stations, because that was really the first idea. And I thought, well, they're on every corner, so that's the quickest way to give access to people. Well, we all know gas stations are not known to be very healthy. And when I had this idea, I got my business registered. I didn't know how I was going to do this. I mean, I had zero idea. But what I did know is that somebody knew. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to get around people that are in this industry and I'm going to ask questions and find out how to build this business. So I flew to Baltimore and went to a natural food show there, met with people in the industry, and there was a guy that spoke on stage that works for a very large company. And when he got done, I pulled him aside and I said, I just want to ask you some questions. Can I take you to coffee? And he looked at me like I had four heads, like, who's this young girl? I like totally didn't fit into this realm. And so he and I went to lunch actually that moment, and I sat down with him. I told him this crazy idea about putting healthy food into gas stations. And he looked at me, and for about 2 hours, he explained to me, Krista, we've tried that with our company and it doesn't work. And wow. I just sat there and I thought, no, in my mind, I'm like, no, you're like stealing my dream here. But so I got back to Nashville and I spent 2 days running this through my brain, and I could not give up on the people in this country that need access to this stuff. And I thought, I'm going to have to figure this out. I'm going to make this work. And so what I realized during that time was that it was marketing and how we were going to do this. And so I sat there, with all my things, and I sat in my home and I thought, I'm going to have to sell all this if I'm going to do this. And so within that week, I sold everything that I owned except hygiene products and clothing, literally like Movado watches, nice handbags, all my bedroom furniture, like everything I held onto in material things that were, somewhat probably defined me. Mm-hmm. And I moved into this little tiny garage apartment And it was fully furnished, and I had no refrigerator, no washer and dryer. I mean, it literally was bare bones. And I started this business there, and I spent 3 years in that place. And I'm going on my 4th year now, but I'm all in on this business because I have a dream that's bigger than, the facts or, something that's bigger than me and that I believe in. And I'm like, someday, sure, I'll have a house, but now it doesn't even bother me because I'm fighting for something bigger, and that's way more fun than all this other stuff.
I love that. Wow, what a great story. You putting things aside and saying no to self is like a key when you're building anything, because you're having to just kind of plow through and keep your eye on that vision. And so now tell me your successes. Like, you're in how many convenience stores are you in?
Yeah, so I'm in about over 200 convenience stores through 11 states, and we're growing really fast. I've got a TV show that we're in development for that showcases how other people around the world live a healthy lifestyle and what we can learn from them in their cultures and their traditions, and how we can maybe bring some of those techniques or types of foods into our life to live a healthier life. And so, just really focused on every angle that I can help bring awareness to a healthy lifestyle and how to do it, and just to encourage people on that journey so that they don't have to be laying in a hospital bed with 3 months to live like I once was.
Yeah. Wow. So, Krista, what was the business advice that you were given and you were like, this is the best business advice and I'm going to take it and do it?
I mean, there's been several things along the way, but the one thing is to really find your God-given purpose, because as I mentioned before, I would beat my head up against the wall trying to come up with this great business idea. But I had to look inside myself and realize, what are the desires of my heart? Because anybody that's doing something that they don't fully enjoy or not extremely passionate about, it's so easy to give up. And we will give up. But for me, passion has always preceded the giving up parts of my life. I mean, every several months for a while there, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this anymore. This is so hard. How am I going to get through the financial challenges or the strategy challenges or, the things that come up? And it's like, is this thing going to fall apart at any minute? I've already lost everything. What more can I lose? But so I think it's just knowing your passion has to be stronger than the facts and evidence of what looks like it's falling apart, because that's what keeps you moving forward. And so that was great advice I received very early on.
That's good. I like that. What's your favorite app? Do you have a favorite app on your phone?
Oh my gosh, yes, I do. It is Yelp. And I'm obsessed because I travel all the time and I want to be able to find healthy places to go eat. Like, I'm really always into like, what's the cool next like vegan little restaurant that I can find or cafe in these different cities I go to. So on Yelp, I will search for what healthy places are near me when I'm traveling, which helps me.
Is there a section there already on Yelp? Like,
they have a vegan category, but I look for like juice and smoothie bars will help pull up a lot of healthy places and things like that.
Yeah. I'm terrible with that. I was on just this past weekend, went with my son's track team and indoor track, and the coach was like, Corrine, find a place for us to eat. And I'm like Googling, and I found the place, and he said, what is it on Yelp? And I was like, Yelp? I was like, you didn't tell me anything about Yelp. So I was like crossing my fingers. We'd already sat down. I was like, I hope it was good. Luckily it was a good restaurant, but I'm going to have to check into that. That's good because my husband just turned vegan, which my husband and my daughter, which as a cook, it's really hard to swallow. That's a hard pill to swallow for me. But it's good to know that they have things on there that we can look up. Have you tried Avo that's in town?
I have. I love Avo. Yeah.
And then there's another one called, I'm trying all these because my husband, so when we go out to eat, there's one called, I think it's called Lulu.
Yeah.
All I know is at the end, they give you vegan soft serve.
Oh, yeah.
Did you try that? The little
I have
soft
not.
serve machine. I think it has like a fraction of dairy, but not anything to speak of. Like, unless you're allergic to dairy, don't have it. But it's like almost 100% vegan. So he had some of that. So that was kind of fun for him. What are your 3 favorite things that you're just loving these days?
All right. Well, let's get real. I was telling you, I'm an avid Goodwill shopper. It's probably not an addiction just yet, but I love just finding the deals and just going in and discovering. I found like old school from like the early 1900s type shoes
like
and clothing.
Clothes?
Yeah, I think it's really just kind of a fun time to find just different things that you wouldn't find anywhere else. And so I love doing that.
What's your strategy? So do you just go to like the shoes first, or do you go to the clothing?
It just depends. Like if I'm decorating my place or adding, anything like that, I love finding different things. I have a love for the French style, so I find a lot of really unique things there with that. But I usually go for the clothes. Yeah. And first Saturday of every month is half off day, so. Yeah, it's like literally...
It's a great deal.
They're paying you to take the stuff at that point.
That's awesome. So, that is awesome.
So that would be one. And as I mentioned, France, I have a little dream of owning a chateau or something amazing there someday. I love the French culture and how they live and the slow pace of lifestyle. So that is one of my favorite places to visit and just kind of get away. But I'm also wanting to learn French and kind of live more of that little bit of that, adapting to that lifestyle. And
yeah. It's a different lifestyle than our fast pace here.
Exactly. Yeah. And what keeps me going is, bulletproof coffee, which I frequently order on Amazon because I don't think there's a lot of places that sell it. But I like to have a little bit of caffeine in the morning. It energizes me for the day to really tackle and have the energy to push through some of the things I'm working on.
I'm not a coffee drinker, so what does that mean, bulletproof coffee? Is it a certain...
Yeah, so
is that the one that has butter?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So that, like, for you to be able to put butter in something and it's okay, like, let's do this, you know? So, yeah.
I'm all for that.
Exactly.
Does it taste buttery?
It makes it really, like, creamy and smooth. The texture of coffee with butter and the MCT oil that they suggest from their brand, and then they of course have bulletproof coffee grounds. You just mix this all together, and it's so smooth. It's amazing. Yep.
That sounds good. I'll have to try it. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I love the smell, and I always think, oh, I'll like this one, and then I try it, and I'm like, even when there's coffee and desserts, I'm like, wonder why I didn't like that. Oh, it's got coffee in it. That's why.
Yeah.
But that sounds interesting. And what is your favorite Nashville restaurant?
I love the Farmhouse. And
where's that?
Yeah, that's what everybody says. So it is this old little school that was turned into a restaurant, and it is absolutely phenomenal. The food is farm to table. They have their own farm practice, so that's where a lot of the ingredients.
Is it in Franklin or
it's in Nashville?
It's in Nashville.
Yep, it's just right outside Nashville.
Okay. Wow, I'll have to try that. Well, thank you so much for letting me come in and chat with you. And your next book is coming out, but it's in process. Like you're waiting to. It's still yet to be finished and titled and everything, but you have a current book and it's called Claim Your Healing, so you still have that, and they can get that on Amazon, right?
Yep, Claim Your Healing can be found on Amazon in the ebook format or paperback, and also barnesandnoble.com.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Wow, what a great story. Krista's perseverance is contagious. I was so encouraged by her positivity and bravery. Make sure you ask your convenience store to bring in Krista's company, Esstar's Healthy Snack Display. She gave us some healthy snacks to try out that day, and I am now a big fan of them. I'll post the name and how to get them on the show notes at CorrineSandifer.com. You'll also find all the links to things that we shared on the show. Plus, I'll post a special video about Krista's story. It will be at CorrineSandifer.com under podcast and show notes. Next week will be my 100th episode. I've been podcasting now for 2 years, and I need some ideas on how to celebrate it. Leave me a comment on Instagram with your ideas. I'd love to hear from you. Also, please consider supporting Rising Stories podcast by purchasing books and products mentioned on the show with the links provided in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening, and keep rising in your story.